Oh, my bad. I just said the whole intro with no mic. All right. So, to recap, thanks for being here. I've got a couple of hours to get a stream in. So, we got exactly 2 hours and 15 minutes. 2 hours, 15 minutes to be able to do a stream. And so, we're just taking advantage. Lee Marie 3D is taking the day off. And tomorrow, we're going to be out. So, it's either stream today for a couple of hours or cancel altogether for the week, and I did not want to do that. So we'll get as much done today as possible and then try again on Monday for a workday stream. How's that sound? You guys hearing me now, Ken? I love it. Rhett's giving me crap for being 2 hours 45 minutes late. Da Vinci, thanks for being here. Gergman, Nathan, hi. Khalib, hello. Kenny, Stewart, Kenneth, Charmingly Camara, good morning. Yeah, we're here. Yeah, I forgot to click the mic button. My bad. My bad, folks. Hey, Steve, good morning. Good morning. We're getting started a day early. So, yeah, so again, today, the goal is going to be try to get some electronics done. I really like the inverted electronics mod for most things if it's available. I also like the EMS mod for most things if it's available. So we're gonna try to do both of those on the SkeleFork. So to get started, let's take a look. Let me grab some parts and we'll see how much we can get done today. I'm hoping that we can get pretty far. I don't have a ton of time. Like I said, I've only got a couple of hours. So we'll see if we can build this out and get it dropped into the bottom of the SkeleFork to see what's going on with that. Forgiven, just send us each a printer. No problem. Which one would you like? Let's move this a little bit. There we go. All right, so this is the SkeleFork version. You can find this on printables with all the other Physitech things. I do like the little bit of a detail here. You can see maybe that the parts are numbered. So this is number 4 of 4. Each of them are labeled the same. That way you know that you're printing out all the ones that you require. So it'll go together like the other ones that we did for the V0 and for, what did we just finish? The Legacy Fork. So those all go in the order like so. And then you should have a full bottom there. So I believe I've already placed the M3 screws in the frame where needed so that we can accommodate this. If we did not, I do have some drop-in nuts that I could put in there. So we'll just have to find those and see about getting everything installed. I was confused to what day it was. Yeah. Hey, Pop Away. Hey, Skyrim. Hey, GTR Dad. Yeah, we're busy tomorrow. We're trying to go to the Japanese Fest down in Orange County. So if you're local to Orange County, California, and you guys are going, let me know. It'd be great to see some people. Man, this looks really weird. Maybe because I have it in the wrong order. There we go. That's better. Okay. I'm looking at this, and there's a wide border and a thinner side. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, that does not line up appropriately. But okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So going in a clockwise manner. This bracket here is to hold all 4 together, like so. The inserts that go into this thing are just now finished printing on the H2D. They have 13 minutes left for all of those. So I forgot to print those off this week. Just kind of got task saturated, so did not prioritize. Hey, Icon. So that's the plan, is to get all of the crap in this amount of space, which is easier said than done, but we'll do our best. So that's the build. This is the power supplies, UHP 200. This came in the SkeleFork kit from West 3D. So if you happen to do the custom build order like I did, where they put everything in a package for you. You'll probably get one of these as well. If you're doing your own thing, you could get the 350 version and have a little more capability, but really kind of up to you. We'll see if the 200 holds up. I'm hoping it does. We're only running 2 tool heads, so I'm thinking 200 will be fine, but we'll see. Also, I'm using a little bit lower wattage hot ends. So these are just E3D Revos with their CHC Volcano hot ends. I believe these are 40 watts. So 80 watts total between 2 Nighthawks. So I'm thinking we'll be okay, but I did not do the math. So we'll see. All right, typical layout for something like this is across some DIN rails. So this would be lateral like this, either top or bottom, however you wanted to do it. But because we have the grid and we're using the EMS system, we can do this any way we like. So I'm thinking that maybe I do it this way. That way, when we're connected to our mains voltage here, that we've only got a short run to worry about. It's also kind of keeps it tucked away in the back corner so that I don't have to worry about touching something I shouldn't or confusing something I shouldn't. It's all right here. It's all really short runs and sort of out of the way. We're going to need as much space as possible because we've got a lot of hardware to put down here. This is a Manta M8P V2 that we're using, and this is a pretty good size board. A little more capability than required. We've got 3 Z-steppers and then 2 of our A and B motors. And then because we're using tool head boards, we don't need extruder drivers. So really you could get away with a 5 driver board, like an M5P would work, or I don't know, like another board that had 5 drivers, but then you'd need an external Pi. So this is probably the most compact way to do it. Another good way might be to use something like a Duet. One of their 5 driver boards would work as well if you wanted to do some wrap firmware. But this one is pretty large for what it is. It's definitely overkill with the 8 driver board. And you'll notice it's nearly the size of that power supply, and definitely twice as thick. And so, or twice as wide, excuse me. Twice as wide as that. But this is what it came with in the kit, so we'll do our best to use it. So this probably, we're gonna have to tuck that all the way over to the one side, and then that'll leave us a little bit of room in here for some wire management. And realistically, with all the drivers coming in, I probably want the driver side of this to the center. And so that looks something like that probably. Okay. And then what else do we have? We've got a couple of Nighthawks to put in here, which I've only got one right now. The other one hasn't arrived yet. It should be here in a couple of hours from one of the resellers. I don't remember which one I ordered it from, but I do have this one. So I've got one of the 2 needed to do it. Hey, Reth. Hey, Howie. Working and lurking. Love it. All right, so that's pretty small, but it should go, I don't know, probably, so that's the input for that. So, somewhere like this. And we've got 2 of these, so we'll have to do 2 of those. The system makes it really nice because I can sort of lay things out. I really don't know how this is going to work, but it's a lot of hardware in a small space. All right, so that goes that way. And then both of our USB ports are probably going to be used up by a USB cable. So I likely need to find some smaller ones so I don't have to worry about stowing away all of that extra wire. I do have some shorties here. So I've got these 2 shorties with a 90-degree USB-C on it. These are only, what, 1 foot long or so. It's probably going to be better to do something like that instead of all of this, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So that's that plan. And then also for the bed, we've got an SSR that we need to put in here. Grab that guy. Here's some drivers. So I've got stuff everywhere right now, really cleaning up the shop and trying to declutter. So this is the Panasonic version, 15 amp SSR, so pretty good quality. I added this bracket on here because I thought that I was just going to use normal DIN rails on it and then change my mind. So I'll pull these screws out of here and we'll use the bracketry with the EMS system to get this one installed. So let's take these M4s out. There we go. M4s are out, brackets off. That's pretty easy. So this guy, let's see. All right, so our load goes here, input on this side. So probably there. Not ideal. So wiring for the bed out is all the way down here in this corner. And we'll have to go all the way around and up to get to that. You could go around this way and have all the 24-volt input power over here because we'll need power for the board. So maybe this slides over one notch there. And that'll give us a pathway on this side to be able to put a couple zip ties. And we can route some wiring this way. We'll also need power for the Nighthawk pair. So yeah, I think that's a better solution. And just kind of keep this pathway open here for all of our motors. So you'll see it's already starting to fill up. We don't even have all the hardware. We'll need one more of those. I'm trying to think of what else we need in here. I think that might be it. I still need to print the wire channel to be able to contain everything. I'm not going to be able to get it over here. There's just not enough space between the frame itself and the board. But right here, I believe that should be enough room to get a cable raceway in there. Let's check out what drivers we got sent. All right, so these are the drivers that came in the self-source kit. 2209's MKS. There are 5 of those. That's not that's barely enough, yeah. Barely enough for what we need. I do have some big Tree Tech versions. And I normally like to run 2240s for my A and B steppers because I like the temperature monitoring. But I don't know that we're going to have enough room to add a cooling fan to keep them cool. Those drivers do run a little hot. So with that in mind and the space concerns that I have, I don't know that we're going to be able to do it. Hey, Pathetic Puma. We were showing off the frame you did for this build last week. And you had a lot of folks interested in that thing, so hopefully that translates over to some traffic for your website. All right, we did get the CB2 in the kit as well. We can get that one installed. I've not flashed this. I need to. So I'll probably hook this up to the benchtop power supply a little bit later and get things flashed. What's up, Shrimp Father? Appreciate all the emojis going on. All right, so that's kind of the build. That's what we're looking at there. Nothing really crazy or abnormal. This is all hardware that the members chose. Let's get our our Wi-Fi, and then this is a heat sink for the CB2. It's a big, thick aluminum radiator and a really thick cooling pad here. What else do we need? I thought I might be able to use a, what's it called? A GBB15. If you guys are not familiar with that, I'll show you what I was thinking about. I don't know that it's going to work for this build, but it's a small stepper board you can get from XR Bunker. Hey, OG Maker, what's up, Bill? This is it here, and it's a very small stepper board. So these have, man, it's hard to see. Hold on one sec. 2209s on there. So you've got 2 of them, and then they operate over CAN bus. So you can mount this on your frame somewhere, remove, you know, additional drivers here, relocate them up on the frame, and then just run your CAN wiring down to the board, and you're good to go for your A and B motors. Your Z motors are already be down here, so really you can get away with a 3-driver board if you can get it small enough in this space. So with that in mind, right, this is how the kit comes. This is extra. So if we were to do this, we could essentially just use a much, much smaller board. And I think I have one down here. So we have options on what this is going to be. Because to be honest, the M8P is really overkill for a build this small. They probably are in a different container, but something like this. This is the SK-Rat, the SK-Rat from Big Tree Tech. It's a 5-driver board. Something like this would also work, but again, you need that external Raspberry Pi, which may be a little bit of an issue. So you could see a much smaller board, both width-wise and length-wise, but then you still need that Raspberry Pi here to be able to run this. And so with that in mind, you're not really saving too much more space. Maybe a little bit more on the width, but again, really kind of up to you all on how you want to do that. But it's possible. And then, of course, all of your 24-volt connections will be down here at the bottom. This would totally work for this build. So I guess, I mean, what do we want to do? So this one will work just fine. This one is huge, but integrated. Chip on this is a H723. This is a G0B1. Hey, Digital Dragon and the GPs. Good evening. What's up, Shaggy? I'm sorry, I'm catching up. It's not notifying me like it normally would. Sweet. Oh, I just noticed too. I had not noticed this before. The SK-Rat has provisions to use a 12864 screen. The Manta does not have that provision, so you're kind of locked into using a TFT if you're going to use a Manta. So, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. Hey, T. Moore, you have a Death Racer printed and partially assembled, same state it's been in since 2023. Pathetic Puma, I'm kind of with you, man. I've got a couple of projects that I started a year ago and haven't really finished. It's a curse. Backpack or inverted? It's inverted. Backpack would be cool. But I don't know what that involves, and I'd basically have to start over and print a bunch of different things if we were going to do a backpack. So, yeah. I like the V2. But I also really like this. I need some opinions, guys. What do you think we should do? Backpack for your CAN bus stuff for the stealth changer? Yeah, that makes sense for a stealth changer. That is on the list of to-dos, a stealth changer for sure. You like these style electronics layout? Everything neat and tidy. I agree, GPs. I agree. I try to put the EMS system on as many things as I can because I really like it. It gives me a lot of flexibility to do what I need to do. And because this one is smaller, I could actually turn it and go this way and recover some of that space. I think that's what I'll probably do. I mean, I really like the Manta, but after laying it out and seeing it in real space, considering that we need 2 Nighthawks, another Raspberry Pi, I think this is probably the better choice here. Yeah, I think so. And then this can go in the next build. And if we want to talk about the next build, I've got a few parts here we can show off and talk about. Something nice having the SBC mounted on the board. It is. It is. Makes it a little more compact. But you're also dealing with lack of USB ports when you do that. And considering running 2 Nighthawks, I already need 2 ports to be able to connect this daughter board to the main board. And so what we can do, I've got them around here somewhere, one of these drawers. So what we can do is, I've got the CB2, so same as this one here. This one just has a giant heatsink on it. Don't have to worry about 5-volt PSU and a USB cable. True. But I've got a solution for that. So that could go there. And we've got an adapter board. So we've got a couple of options. So here's an adapter board with a CB1, I think, is on this. Yeah, it's a CB1 version 2. So this is what we would operate with. I've got 4 USB ports here, which would help. This board is 24 volt. No, I'm thinking of something else. Anyway, 5 volt and ground can go here. That can come directly off this board. We'll just use a spare port somewhere and just run that jumper over. So that's an option. So we could do something like that right there. And we're already smaller than what that Manta was. We've also got this version here. This is from Mellow. It's their Fly. WaveShare USB hub is useful in adding ports. Correct. I've got a ton of stuff down here, Bill. I've got a ton of stuff. I'm not worried about that. So yeah, I've got a couple of Pi 4s. I've got a CM4 as well that I was going to use on that Manta. Yeah, I've got more than enough Raspberry Pi, like full-size Pis, to be able to use. And so instead of continually doing a lot of these sort of things, I've got these boards that don't have the integrated Linux computer. And so just using up hardware, I think this is probably the better go. I really do. So I just heard parts finished. Let me pull those parts off. We'll take a look at what I made. And I'm definitely going to have to reprint some stuff since we're making changes on the fly now that I see it in person. Sometimes that's how this goes. So these are the parts. I chose to print these at a black PETG for a couple of reasons. As you know, ABS shrinks a little bit when you print it. And so when you print these inserts out of ABS as well, there's a tolerance in there that allow these to fall out. And so my thought process is PETG is a little bit higher temp material, not as good as ABS, but it'll handle the electronics bay. And because it doesn't shrink as much, these inserts should fit a little bit tighter and not fall out of the frame as easily. Gotta make food, be back later. Yeah, no worries. We're just hanging out today. Hanging out, talking shop, building as much as we can. But with that in mind, I need to reprint this. I did print this for the Manta, but after putting it on the grid, it doesn't make sense. So I need to slice and print a new one that can go in the other build. And then I made this bracket. This holds a couple of Wago 5-position mounts so that we can distribute 24-volt power as needed. So I got to find a place for that. And then this big bracket here Let's put these up this way. This big bracket is for our PSU. All right. This is for our PSU, and typically you would mount this to the grid first, and then mount the power supply to that. So we've got to do some heat inserts. Got the iron here. Let's just get that turned on, and we'll add heat inserts to all these different brackets and sort of lay out the grid and things like that. I'm not sure if we're gonna have room for this or not. I really hope we do, but it's gonna be tight to get this in there. So I'm gonna put this to the side. We don't need that right now. Try to get things cleaned up, but I wanted to talk through the process and kind of share why I'm choosing what I'm doing and talk through how I got to that decision. Thanks for the sub, 3D Customs. So how do we get 5-volt power? Well, we've got a couple of options. We could do what I was talking about and just steal it from the board. But then also there are these, I can find one, maybe it's close by here. Here we go. There are these converters where you can get these on Amazon. They're, you know, 10 bucks or so. But they can provide a 5-volt power source via USB-C, and it'll take 24-volt in. But this is another box that you have to mount somewhere and in an already tight position. So if I put this kind of this way, and then, you know, I've got, let's say, 2 of these Nighthawk daughter boards, and this back corner needs to be reserved for our wiring and our input over here. Those are great. Power Pi 5 perfectly. Yeah, I agree. So we could pull 24 volts off of this. We'll use one of the extruder ports. You can do it that way. Or you could use one of your voltages down here, which is probably the better solution. That way you get your instant 5 volt. So probably have to extend these out, connect over here to the power supply. The question is, where do we mount this box? There's a couple of options. You can go right in the center and then forego any cable raceway that you would use. But then you're also kind of blocking your USB ports here and things like that. So it's a little bit challenging. And we also need to be aware of being able to reach power to our Pi. MAP looks to be smaller now when you take, yeah, that's the challenge, dude. But that's why we haven't really assembled it yet. But yeah, considering everything, you know, maybe the MAP is the better option. If we were doing a straight up single tool head build, this would be a little bit better. I don't know. It's tough. I could turn this guy, because I'm not going to use the Ethernet port, so somewhere there. Our Nighthawk could be up top. Put another Nighthawk right there next to it, pretty close. This little board could go right there. And then we'd still have our channel to be able to run wiring through the center. It's a conundrum for sure. But I feel like the MAP is just overpowered for this kind of thing. It's a lot of board for not a lot of printer. And I really need it for the next build. I'd rather not have to buy a big board. You thought the SBC take 24 volts straight? It might, but this is an adapter. It's not a what's the full size one? I forget the name of it. the full-size Big Tree Tech Pi. You VHP those to the side of the PSU. Yeah, you could definitely do that too. That's another option. I originally thought maybe mount it on top, but getting really close to the top edge of the deck panel. But you're right, you could VHP tape to the side and then still have room to get around here. And we'll just do zip ties instead of having a cable raceway to keep it clean. I don't know. I think we should just start mounting things, the solid stuff that I know has to go on, and then we'll come back to which board we're going to use. So I'm just clear all this out. Iron is hot, so we should be able to do some stuff here. I've got these parts. Here's a Nighthawk, and that goes up top. So these inserts, this is probably not all the ones that we need or that I'm going to use. I will likely have to print more of these, but we need at least 4 for this center bracket to hold all 4 pieces together. They also make this in just a 2-hole version like so, and you can reinforce the outer edges here. Normally I would do that. But I didn't print any more of these. I needed to get stuff printed so that we can make some progress today. So I printed the main stuff I need. I'll have to run off some other stuff. CB2 was the same. No, CB2 is an add-on. So this looks like the full Pi, but it's not. It's a CM4 mounted to an adapter. This is the Pi 4 adapter. Pi 2 have buck converters and screw terminals. Pi 4 adapter does not. Correct. And I don't believe I have one of those anywhere. Actually, I might. What is this? That's another CB2. What is this? Bam. There we go. Maybe we could use this. This is what you're talking about. Oh, look. There's a little duck in there. Yeah, so if we use this, it would be all internal, and we can just go straight to 24 volt. Good call. Yeah, so GPs, here's your difference. So this is your Pi V1.2 from Big Tree Tech. So this is all integrated, and your Wi-Fi is here on the bottom, SD port on the bottom. The 24 volt inlet is here, and it's got an internal converter. This one does not have that, even though they look very similar, they're not. Boron Widow says you have a calming voice like Bob Ross, just taking her worries away. I need to print a happy tree. Hello, Boron Widow. Miss you guys. I need to come visit. I know it. So yeah, we could definitely do that and save ourselves from having to find a place for this guy. So ton of hardware laid out across the bench now. I appreciate it. I'm normally more organized, but I'll take it for a Saturday. Okay. What do we need? A couple of heat inserts and 4 of these little brackets here. Hope I printed enough. Thanks, didn't know that. Yeah, we're all learning some stuff. There's stuff I don't know either. I just kind of learned it on the fly. You guys teach me so much, and I learned so much from the community. So as we talk through it, then we learn. All right, so we'll put some of the stuff away that I'm not going to use. So that's our CB2. Not going to need that right now. Put that up top. Drivers can stay. Looks like we're going to use the Pi V1.2 and put this other Pi away. We could still use this guy. This is not going to work, so put that up there. All right, I think we have on the desk all the stuff we're actually going to use. Happy little pies. Yeah. It's nice having, all the different hardware that you can kind of mix and match and build based on what you have, but I know that's not everyone. Not everyone is crazy and such a collector like I am. So we've got tons of different stuff on the way as well. Let's get some heat sets out here. So once we get into this a little bit, let's see about sharing some info on that. Gonna have to take off? No worries, Pathetic Puma. Thanks for stopping by. Always appreciate you. All right, we'll get some of these out. This is the kind of stuff I would normally do off stream. It's better when I can just get a close-up on it. But it's very satisfying having heat inserts done. Try not to portable laser setup for Rocky Mountain. Nice. No, I think we're all kind of last minute. I had to drop out last minute. And I'm sure that there are folks that are going to be building stuff all the way up and through Friday night. So and last one. Oh, if I haven't said it yet, the drawing for the LDO filament giveaway is pinned in the description. Sorry, in the chat, pinned in the chat. If you want to try out some LDO filament and haven't tried it yet, get in there and get yourself signed up. Do a drawing here in roughly 30 minutes, I guess. And then we'll save our last hour for building and chit chat and whatever else. Maybe we'll look at some stuff for the next build. Already got 2 projects lined up for the one following this. So we'll get as far as we can through May and June before we have to transition and take a summer break. Got some of the monolith ABS. Nice. I'm gonna move to Lemoore? No. I'll let you know on Tuesday. Tuesday I should have a better idea of what it looks like. Yeah, that monolith ABS, I've wanted some. That purple was really good. But the direction and theme I'm going with on the next build is a little bit different. That monolith ABS, though, may be a candidate for the Doom Cube over here. All right, so let's see what this looks like. That goes here in the center, so lining these up, kind of go like that. And then we'll put this guy, actually let's move it over just one step and go there, I think. Trying to find all of the spots where these inserts should be. Yeah, that's a little close. Do we turn it? Yeah, let's turn it a little bit. See if we can get it going right there. And then this guy, go here. And there are offset ones. So these have the heat certs in the center, but there's another version that has them off to one side. That may be the better option. All right, so if I did that, yeah, so there's just not a good position for this. Hold on, let's figure this out. So spending a little bit of time here is going to pay off later because you'll have a better idea of where everything needs to go. And I found out that when you're using these inserts like this to hold things together, it's probably better to use button heads and to use short button heads. So something like a 6 millimeter long or an 8 is the better option. But use what you have on hand, obviously. Just want to make sure that on something like your main board that you're not using hardware that interferes or touches any of these components on the bottom, because you may find yourself having shorts. So button heads avoid a lot of that. Doom Cube will make sense. You're running monolith on it. GPs maybe. I don't have a monolith kit. I know that they are out for pre-order right now. I'm waiting on one from vidIQ that's very similar, but I don't have that in hand either. Monolith right now I'm sorry, the Doom Cube right now is standard Doom Cube. So it probably needs some updates. Also, I want a color change on it. And so I just need some parts, basically. Some parts and some time. So I'm in the collection phase right now where we slowly accumulate stuff and see how that works out. Yeah, so some of these holes are not lining up all the way, so we need a B. So these are labeled A and B. B has the heat set off to the side, like this. There are several different versions of these inserts, depending on what you want to do. So this one has the offset on the flat side. There's another one, I think it's called, it's labeled an E, and it's got your heat set at the point. Hey, Fegly Viper. Yeah, those see what this is what I mean. Like they're in there and they're not falling out. That's because we use dissimilar materials. ABS shrinks a little bit, PETG doesn't shrink as much, and so it fits a little better. Had I printed these from ABS, the tolerances would be the same, and these would likely fall out as I move this around. I mean, it's still not in there tight, but it's enough to where it doesn't fall out easily. Ooh, okay. It's gonna be interesting to try to get that in there. Let's see. It's like right on the edge, just, you know, shrinkages and tolerances. It's right on the edge of being able to work. All right, that's that. And then we'll make do here, stretch it over. Probably should have printed this square connection out of PETG as well. Can't win them all though. Just making sure that goes in there finger tight. And the hardware I'm using is an M3x5, just because it's what came in this kit. And there's no protrusion out the bottom. Doesn't super matter, but you don't want 5 or 8 millimeters sticking out the bottom of that thing. It's not going to work out well when you try to do a bottom panel. Okay, so there's a little bit of tension in there. If we kind of press this together, there we go, and levels it out a little bit. And everything will be fine as soon as we get our bottom panels and stuff together. All right, so that one's not lining up anymore. I wonder if I'll print, yeah, so I need an Echo insert to be able to mount that one. And then over here, I think a B will work. So I get a B here. Try to get that one installed. I should have printed a few of those E's, but I was in a rush, and the plate that we printed already was a 3-hour print. So I started at 6 a.m. I was really behind on getting stuff done today. All right, so that one to go there. And we'll get that in. And it still doesn't line up because we need an E, not a B. Well, okay. Let's see. And this one, probably also that E. All right, let's get the slicer going then. Let's see what I can figure out. Slicer, and I want I'm back now. Hey, Clown Hammer. Add a shrink factor in the slicer would solve that? Yeah, it would. But I intentionally wanted the PETG parts to be a little bit tighter so they didn't fall out. Get you a picture of this. Is this it? Yeah, we'll do some of that. Drop this down and lost my window. Okay, let's do this guy. And here. Hey, John Doe. Had to go get the mutts their food. Hey, Betty. I didn't see you guys were here. So sorry if I didn't greet you earlier. All right. Got the lights are fired up. What I need is a few of our parts. So we're going to do these on the H2D because that's what I have warmed up. Let's go here. Don't tell me you're going to be a pain today. There we go. Sometimes it takes a little bit to actually log into the printer. All right, so bed's warming, should be good to go there. I've already got the same filament I need. Happy weekend. Thanks, John Doe. Yeah, it is a happy weekend. I've got the weekend off. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right, let's grab some files. All right. I had downloaded these when we were building the legacy fork, and I just downloaded the whole repo from Printables. And let me grab you guys that link just in case folks don't know what I'm talking about. So when you look at printables, you'll find the Physitech EMS mounts repository. And in here are where I'm getting all these brackets from. There are bits and bobs for pretty much anything that you would want to use, and pretty much anything that you could think of. There's also a way to make your own. So if you want things and stuff, just kind of go to the remixes section here, and you'll possibly find what you need. So things for your Raspberry Pi, I still need to print that. Things for like this cable raceway here, I need that. This is the bracket for the center that I printed. I don't know why this one lines up and mine doesn't, but it is what it is. Yeah, so EBB over here for their USB. This is a Duender version. There's a ton of different stuff in here that you can use for your build depending on what you have. There's even stuff in here for other main boards. So like this Fly D7, what else? Big 2 Tech Pi, which we're going to use. So I probably need to print that as well. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Here's one that I submitted for the Mellow Fly Volt Up, if you want to try that out. There's a bunch of different stuff in here. But you could just come in and download everything, or you can just download what you need. This is where you could find it all. So I will drop this in chat for everyone. There you go. In case you want to go there and try it out. Tracking. Rhett's on it. Rhett is on it. So I'm noticing that these little dog bones here, I need to print a few of those. So taking a look at our bracketry, I'll give you a good example. So this is the bracket. You've got these long slots in here. Those are meant to be used with the little dog bone pieces that have heat inserts, and then you add your hardware through the bottom with your Echo hexagons that fit into your grid. So we need the dog bones, we need the Echo hexagons, and then we need a different bracket because we're using that SK Rat versus the Manta. So those are all things that we need to print. Might need to rotate the bracket. Yeah, I've rotated it a couple times. I think I just need to, I don't know, continue to play with it. Maybe the spacing is different because it's a salad fork frame and not like a bigger Trident frame or something like that. So That's genius. Yeah, all credit to Fizzy. Okay, let's get back to what we were supposed to be doing before I went on my tangent, like always. So in here, I'm just using a standard config that I use for most things. And let's go to our folder with all the stuff that I downloaded. Where'd it go? Right there. And this one, EMS repo. Sorry, you guys can't see this, but I don't share my whole screen. SKR rat, I need that mount. So grab that guy. And then we need a bunch of random things, like they call it the bolts. We need the bone, maybe some echo. We'll get some offset mounts. And if you lay all your stuff out and do the math and figure out how many you need, works out great, because then you know how many to print and you're not printing spares or extras. Hey, LTX. It's not square, so rotating it, the little hex anchors might get you there. Yes, might get you there. I mean, we'll play with it a little bit, but let's see. Let's get us set up here with all these other parts first. Okay. So this is what I have. I also need that Pi mount, I thought. So let's see if I can get that. There's a Raspberry Pi, and then there's a BTT Pi with an antenna mount. So this is the one with the antenna mount, so you can tape it, VHB tape it to this area here. Just kind of keeps things compact and secure. Looking at ours, I don't have the antenna installed, but I know that it's that shape, so that should work like that. These are the parts we need. I know that I'll probably need 4 of these dog bones, so we'll add 4 of those. And then for these Fs, see how the circle is near the point? That's the offset that I was talking about. So when you put your heat inserts in here, they're at the point versus this flat edge that you would normally see on the B version. So pay attention to what version you need. Here's the little, what are they calling this thing? The, oh man, what's it called? The bolt, the bolt. And these accept the heat insert here and install from the top. That way there's no metal or anything touching up against the bottom of your board. And then your Echo version here, Hexagon, has a slot in the bottom for your hardware to go into the bottom. So I know that just looking at these brackets, I need 2 bolts at least for this SK Rat bracket, and then 2 more for the Big Tree Tech. And we can use up to 3 on our Meanwell bracket. So by my count, that's at least 7 of these that I need. So right click and clone, we'll add 6 more, and there they go. Because of that, I know that I need 6 of these Echoes, or sorry, 7 of these, so 6 additional. And for my Foxtrot Hexagon, I need at least, I don't know, we'll add 8 of those. It's gonna be a lot of print times, probably not gonna finish while we're on stream today, but I do wanna get these started, because every minute we waste not printing is a minute that we are not ready for Monday. All right, I'm gonna use my normal profile here. The one thing I will change is selecting everything and then decreasing my density down to 30. I'll keep my wall loops at 4, just for the strength portion. We'll embed the stuff there. We'll take the top layers down to 4, bottom layers down to 3, and using cubic as our infill. Hey, the Mad Owl. Happy Saturday. Let's get that sliced up. We'll sync that, sure. Ooh, we sliced it with ABS, but I am using PETG. No. All right, so if you're able to see in the bottom right corner, it shows me with my PETG on the right-hand side. That's not gonna work out. I have it loaded on the left, so what you do is you just click this regroup filament, you'll get another box over here that says custom, and you can just drag the PETG to the left. It'll reslice and show it on the proper side now on that left side. So when I click print, it'll actually do what I need it to do. We don't need a time lapse, and sweet, go with that. So that'll be done in 2 hours, which is about 1 hour and 15 minutes after the stream, but we'll make do. I'll keep working on this later on this afternoon. It's got errands to do here at noon. All right, we'll let that go. Back to this thing. Let's see if we can figure out what Petty was talking about. So he's recommending that we rotate this. I thought I had already tried that. And looking at the picture, it showed that it should be centered when we use these A brackets, which are the thing that I printed the most of. I'm just not sure why it's not lining up the way that I want it to, but we'll keep playing with it. So that one's on an A bracket there. When I try to line this all up, you'll see it doesn't, this access hole doesn't line up directly in the center of that hexagon. And so the A bracket doesn't work. That's why I was using a B. And even if I rotated it, I'm not sure that it would align where I want it to. So I think it's just a matter of the hexagon layout being different on this small form factor. So putting it there with the wide side, you could see I'm offset. So if I wanted to be dead center of the split, sorry, you can't see that, in the split of the bracket, if I wanted it to be dead center, I am directly over top of a printed part, and there's no way I could get hexagons in there to hold that. So I need to offset it to the left or the right. And when I do that, one of them will be sort of in the center, one of them will be off to the left. So I'm still going to have to end up using the B brackets with the offset. So we'll do that, but it doesn't really help us all the way. Like so, got my M3x5 hardware. Pre-populate that. See about adding this to our bracket. I'm gonna just keep this one a little bit loose so we have some wriggle room. And then because it's offset, I gotta go to the second hole using the appropriate hexagon. Put that there. This lays on top. And again, we'll install this one just a little bit loose. Like that, all right? And you'll notice it's a little bit off. It fits a little bit better as I drop that piece on the floor. But we're good, all right? And so coming down here, I'm still offset, but I should be able to use that B on that side. And over here on this side, same kind of deal. I can still use that B over here. So regardless, it's not exactly in the center like the picture. And so just keep that in mind. Don't assume that it's just gonna fit like you want it to. You'll probably need to play with this a little bit to modify it for your setup. Smack that like button. Thanks, Kenny. That part needs a redesign? It might. It worked just fine when we built the the legacy fork. Like I keep saying, SkeleFork is a little bit different layout. The pattern is a little bit smaller. And so it's not a problem with the part per se. It's just a difference in layout. If you had a giant printer, you could just print all of this in one piece and you would eliminate the need for that bracket altogether. I think this is just slightly too big to print all together on the H2D. I could be wrong. I mean, it might fit on there. It might fit on there. I didn't do the work to check though. It might fit on there. So something like a 350, you could print this in one piece. All right, so that one goes on a little bit loose like the others. And then we'll get this last one slid in here and right there. What'd I do with it? There it is. They start to blend in with one another after a while. Slide that in and that lines up. So yeah, rotating the bracket helped us out a little bit, but you're still using the offset connections for this build, at least. It keeps the center together. You're still probably going to have to do something about these edges if you want true rigidity. But keep in mind too that when we do the inverted electronics, this sits on top of the DIN rail bracket. So you'll still have, right here in this large space, you have 2 DIN rail brackets that mount to the frame of the printer with the DIN rails underneath. This sits on top and are supported by those DIN rails. So you don't necessarily need stuff around the edges, but here in the center, you really want it to add that rigidity back. So let's get some tightening going on here to make this a little better. All right, good there. Good there. Good right there. All right, so you can see that's a lot more rigid. Still some flexibility in there. You could do dog bones if you like, but yeah, that's pretty good for me. Okay, we're still waiting for those little T-bolts to print, so I can't necessarily add this right now, but I did want to show a couple of ways to do it. So you could use button head screws through here, go like that, and those would work just fine. Just use a couple of those with whatever hexagons you're going to use and mount your things in here. And then your bracket itself has heat inserts that then mount to your power supply. So because we don't have those, I can't really install this yet, but I can get some heat inserts in here. And because we're almost at the halfway point, I'm going to remind everyone to jump in there and add your information into the filament giveaway. Unless you don't like filament, you've got way too much. Like me. Smack it like it owes you money. Yeah, this is just Ambrosia PETG Plus in the black version. I keep a lot of this around for this exact kind of thing where I'm just printing brackets and things like that that don't need a lot of strength, especially in your electronics bay. You don't have to print it out of ABS. And you don't have to print it with your 40% infill in 5 tops and bottoms and all that kind of stuff. That's extra time and extra filament for brackets that don't have a lot of need for reinforcement. You still want them to be strong. You don't want your electronics coming loose, but they don't need to be as rigid as your AB motor mounts. So save yourself some time and some filament. Print them a little lighter. Cool, so there's that. These will go on with typical M3 hardware. Ow, that's still hot. And we said that we're gonna go right in this area. So let me plan this out. As we lay this out, I think right down this row makes the most sense because that's as far left as we can go. And as far back as we can go is about right there. So somewhere in that location is where this is going to live. We've got a bracket for Wago, so let me grab a few of those. I've got a ton of these 5 positions and not so many of the 2 positions, so I had to make another order for those. Problem with streaming on Saturday is that's when normally all of my parts arrive. For whatever reason, I can order on a Sunday and they always just get here on Saturday. And so I don't have everything I need right now, but that actually worked out pretty good. And then I know that I have a bracket here. There are 2 versions for your Nighthawk. One allows you just to screw directly into the plastic if that is your preference. I like the version with heat inserts so that I can reposition this or remove this later if I need to. Say we're cannibalizing parts for another build, which I've been known to do from time to time. Having these heat inserts makes it much nicer in my opinion. So I prefer brackets and things with heat inserts on it. This also uses one of those dog bones, but you could use button head hardware if you didn't want to do dog bones. So that goes like that. And then because of the way that this is mounted, it'll have to go sideways. So if we want it pointing towards our board, we'll have to mount it this way as well. And we still do have 2 of these, so it's gonna get a little tight. It'd be really nice if I had thought ahead and cut the bottom of this off, retaining just the 3 points, making it a much smaller square. And then right here in the center, once I decide where I wanted to put this, I'll just put a hole for a bolt or a screw that we can just screw directly down. It'll make this much smaller, much neater. And it actually will work out because you do have the heat inserts in there. So this can be mounted after the fact. So maybe that's a mod that I'll add on there when I get some time to focus on that kind of thing. All right, that's there. And again, we use some of these button heads to hold things together. So I think I need a little bit longer one for this if I remember right. It's got to get through the board and then down into that heat insert. And we don't want it sticking out too far. So I'm going to use, these are M3x10s. You could probably get away with 8s if you were doing this at home. But I've got way more 10s than I do 8s right now. It's one of the order items I'm waiting on is more hardware. Giveaway needs a bigger box for what you did. For what did you print this week? Bigger for I'm not following you there, Howie. Needs a bigger box for what did you print this week? I'm lost. Sorry. Yeah, 8s are going to work a little better. These do protrude maybe 2 millimeters. So 6s or 8s will work better. I do have 6s, so let me swap to those really quickly. Yeah, 10s just stick out, which means when I go to put this on the grid, it's going to interfere with those hexagons. Like you see, it doesn't slide because those are protruding. Now 6s, I was a little bit worried that they might not reach into the heat insert. But it looks like they grab by just a couple of threads there, which should be fine. We can add our life story. M3-way is probably the most used screw. Yeah, that's why I'm out of them. I literally have, in this little case, I've only got 2. And then when we look at socket heads, I have a lot more, but I just want to use up some of this button head hardware. 6s actually work though in this scenario. Yeah, they grab by like 2 or 3 threads. the section in the giveaway form that asks what, oh, I see. Bigger box to list them all. I gotcha. Yeah, I was not really following what you were talking about there, Howie. Thanks for the clarification. I'll work on it. Okay. Mounted. Cool. Goes in that area-ish. Well, okay. Rat rig board. I think I got this one when it was on clearance for like $35. So for a $35 board, this is pretty capable. 5-driver board, two extruders, and a bed. It's not high voltage capable, but that's not what we're doing on this one anyway. So if you don't need high voltage, this might be a better buy. You could run a Trident on this, realistically. Trident with a tool head board. So check out the SK Rat if you haven't. You could probably find them on clearance somewhere. That's where I got this one. There's another one down there too. I picked up 2 of them. All right. Let's start populating this board. I don't have any documentation pulled up on this because we called the audible here. So let's take a look at the web page for that. So we're going to go to the BTT. Yeah, we'll use their wiki. It's going to work just fine. We don't have a Manta series. We have the SK Rat. So SKR series and then come down to SK Rat. Yep, that looks like what we're doing. So I look at my pin description. It'll tell me all the pins for all the things. And I need to set all my jumpers for 2209s. In my brain, I know how that should work, but it's always good to double check the documentation. So using UART, which is what we're doing, you can see this is for the 2209, which is what we have. We need jumpers on this 3rd row of pins down, just on the leftmost side, as indicated by the red box. So let's get those in place. Let me grab some tweezers because fingers are not going to work too well. All right, so those are there. It did come with all the jumpers we need, but I have a ton of these like all over the place. So let's see what we can do here. These are all red, which is great. I like that. So we'll set 5 of these for 2209. So this guy, and you'll notice it didn't show it in the documentation earlier, but if you look closely at the board, you've got a red row of pins, and then you have that row on the far right under the motor drivers here, the row on the far right that is black. We're not using the black row. We're only using the red row according to the documentation. So remember, 3rd row down on the left 2-most columns. So like that. And we're going to do that for all 5 drivers because I'm going to use 2209s in every spot. So just like that. We're just doing 1 jumper. Depending on your board, you may use more than 1. So that's why I said always double check to make sure you're good to go. And then double check that you're actually where you're supposed to be before you install your drivers, because you'll not be able to see that anymore. So we've got the drivers from the kit here. These are MKS version. They're green versus red. That's a company thing, but they should align just the same. So the color goes to the color. So red to green in this instance, just like that. And there's an adjustment screw. It's an adjustment screw on this driver. Focus. Where you can dial in the voltage. Remember, this is not a high voltage board. This should be set already, but we can double check that later with a multimeter if you're really worried about it. So I like to put these in first, that way I have them in a good base. And just do a double check around the board that all of your pins actually went into the socket as they should, because sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes they can go outside the socket and then your drivers don't work and you don't realize that your pins are not all connected. I've had that happen to me exactly once, and it took me all day to figure it out. And all it was the driver wasn't connected all the way, and I just dropped that on the floor. Where'd it go? Oh no, it bounced like all the way back. Okay, gotcha. Oh, okay. Here's my exercise for the day. All right, make sure nothing is bent or damaged. Looks good. Put that in there, making sure all of our pins. Oh, one bent pin there. So all I did was drop it on the floor. So this is why you double check. Come on, focus. See that one bent pin on the far right? That one bent pin just bent just enough to where it's out of line with the socket. So gently, what we can do is just bend that back a little bit. Just gently try to get it back to where I think it should be. Now we're good to go. And now when I try to connect this, everything should line up with our pins. Double checking and send her home. So first things first, try not to drop your drivers on the ground, unless you're a Butterfingers like me. All right, like that. Make sure we're good. Send her home. Last one. I mean, there's a way to make this a high voltage board if you really wanted to. You just need an adapter. And so you'll need, where'd it go? You'll need one of these. So this is an adapter with a high voltage driver. So you'll see it looks a little funky, but it's oriented such that when you install this, it goes in like so, and it'll hang off the end of the board. So you need the clearance. Ideally, you would install it this way, where it overhangs. But that's not how these are oriented. And then this connection would go to your high voltage output on your 48 volt or 36 volt PSU. So that's one way to add high voltage to a non-high voltage board. But that's definitely kind of getting behind current opportunities right now. It might be just easier to get yourself a Octopus Pro or something like that versus trying to add it in. This would be, you know, if you really were in love with the hardware you had, you didn't want to do a lot of changes, you just wanted to add on capability, that's probably the better option. But something like that you can get from, I forget who I got that from. You probably have to Google it. I don't remember off the top of my head. Cool, so that's there. And then I like to add on my heat sinks after the fact, just because now I have a good base. I'm not poking myself in the fingers with the pins. I got a little bit of a fingernail, so I'm able to pull this off. If you don't, get yourself some sharp tweezers and pull off that extra tape there. Just lining this up in the center of the driver, being careful not to have the metal heat sink touch any of the outer pins. That'll give you a bad time. And you'd be wondering what the hell you did. So these are very large heat sinks. And so what I'm doing right now is just double checking that I'm good to go. We're not touching anything. Normally on other drivers, I have not seen these heat sinks be so big and beefy, but that's not a bad thing. You just got to be vigilant about where you place them. Go. Being very careful not to touch anything with the aluminum. Now, once we get all these on, we'll take a little bit of a detour and talk shop a little bit. We'll look at some new hardware, talk about a future project that I'm really excited about. But I know that I see a bunch of names that do a lot of cool different builds. I'm really interested. What are you guys working on? What would you want to see on the channel coming forward? Just keep in mind, we're going to take a summer break because I kind of have to. but after that, game on for what we want to do. I lost my chat here. Hold on one sec. Hey, Raj D. Stuck's having a mortgage. Be able to buy so many more parts as well. All right, GPs. See you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out. Trying to get through a lot of this today. But there's so much stuff hanging around. All right, throw some of that away. There it is. All right, last one. Yeah, for me at least, it's much easier to get these all lined up and on really well when the board has all the drivers installed. So that's why I do it that way. Whatever makes sense to you. Cool, so there's our board done. Again, we don't have a mount, but my intent is to mount this as far down into this corner as I can while still having room to install a screen here. So down in this section, the kit does come with a, what is it? A TFT 43. So a smaller touchscreen that mounts here in the front on the frame. So with that in mind, I need to be careful that all the hardware we're using can accept it. So I'm not seeing a flat cable on the Pi, and there's not a section on here for that either. So that touchscreen is probably not going to be able to be used with the hardware that we're using. I'm okay with that. I'm not one of those folks that use a touchscreen all that much anyway. I very much print from the browser, and if I need to cancel something, I'll do it from there as well. So I don't get wrapped around the axle for that one. All right, that is good there. I need heatsink on this Pi, which when you get the Pi, this is what it comes with, this big beefy one. What I did is you can order this separately. It's like a couple bucks. It's not too bad. And then add this to my CB2s. Something like this would be for your CB2 that is installed on your Manta. So not going to work with a CB1 and not going to work with this Pi here because there's nowhere to mount it and there's a lot of interference with the components. So make sure you're using the correct heatsink for the correct board. And I just looked this morning and it sounds like Raspberry Pi is increasing their prices on all of their SBCs lately due to the RAM shortage. So I would say if you're going to get Raspberry Pis and that kind of thing, you might want to go ahead and get on it because it sounds like they're going to get a little more pricey. All right, and these cover just the main chips here. So just put it on as straight as possible over top those chips. Being careful not to touch anything you shouldn't. But anywhere touching all three of those is going to be fine. And you'll notice you have two ports here for a little daughter board that comes with your Pi. Looks like this. And I believe what this does is add CAN bus capability to your Pi. So this is just a little U2C. It's got its own little chip on there. And on the back side, it'll tell you that it's a U2C module. As soon as we get camera focus here, there it goes. So it's a little U2C module that connects to your two port towers like that. I've experienced this before where I tried to put this in and it's so loose, it just kind of falls right out. So I don't know that I'm going to use this, especially since I don't plan to use USB. So I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense. It doesn't fit anyway. Well, it fits, it doesn't stay. It comes right off. So we'll not install that because I don't see the point and I don't want it to be coming off. It also comes with a cable here. This cable is for this connection. And I forget what this does. I think this is to get power and communication with another product. What is this for? It doesn't fit here. Or am I using the wrong side? Here we go. So spin that. Yeah, it goes in right there. And then this side will go to one of Big Tree Tech's boards that has this connection on here. And you'll be able to share power. I believe it's a Pico that will use this. But for what it's worth, they include that in the box. We don't need that either. I will need the Wi-Fi here. And there are a couple of jumpers in here that we might need for things and stuff. But I don't see why I would need it. We're not going to use it. So this is our Wi-Fi on the Pi. It's on the bottom. So before I get that bracket out and forget about this, I like to go ahead and install it. Raspberry Pis are stupid priced. Yeah. Right now they are, but I just saw the Pi 5 was $49, which is not bad for a Pi 5. Down here I've got a bunch of Pi 4s and a Pi 3. Two Pi 3s. There's an orange Pi. Here's another Pi 3A plus. So 3 Pi 3s. There's my CM5. Yeah, I've got more than enough. I won't be buying Raspberry Pis for a while. Don't need them. Okay. All right, what else can we do while we're waiting for parts? We can look at other hardware that came in yesterday. So let me make some room here. I don't know anything about this, but I'll be trying out some new stuff. I think I'm allowed to show it. Let's make some room. And I'll bring you a box here. So I got these yesterday. I just need to figure out what to do with them. So I'll be testing these out on something. I haven't decided what. I do want to use them on the new build that's coming up, but we could take an initial look at these. If you've used the Krakens before, you understand that they have additional capability. They can handle higher amps, things like that. So it's really tailored to a 48 volt build, which is why we're not using it in something like a SkeleFork, because that would be funny and silly, and you could do it, but it is what it is. If you're looking for the information, here's the information sticker. So it's an LDO 4250 3004 Longboy, so S37, which means these would fit perfectly well on a rat rig. Turns out I have a rat rig, and I have a few of these. So there's 4 in this box. And I think it kind of makes sense to put these on a rat rig. So TBD. TBD. Because if you remember, the rat rig has the Kraken board in it as well. So 60 volt capable. All I would need to do is add that 48 volt power supply on there. And then add in these motors, which is easier than it sounds because of the way that rat rig does their stuff. Those motors are actually upside down mounted. And belt routing is a huge pain. Huge pain. Hey, Birdman. You miss having time to watch streams? Yeah, it's all been well. Thanks for jumping in. Hey, Additive Adam. Yeah, normally I'm not here on Saturdays, so this is a difference for me. So that's one thing. What else? Also got this. Also got this in the mail. A Pad 5 V2. We can do a little bit of an unboxing here and then do some giveaway. So this just came in. I haven't unboxed it. I don't know what's in this box. I know that Down Undermaker went through this on his stream the other day, but I missed it. I was not able to jump on and see it. So that's for the best because I've not looked at this and I want to get sort of an initial look at this. Don't know where this is going to go either, but I think again, the rat rig may be a candidate because that does not have a screen. Ooh, that's nice. You see that packaging? It comes with a 5 as one of your inserts. That's pretty cool. So that's there. You got your main component there. Very nice screen if you're familiar with the pad system from Big Tree Tech. Always pretty good looking. On the back here, much smaller mount for your CM5. So if you use a CM5 on this, from what I've read, you get a lot more capability out of the screen, but you could use a CM4 with a little less capability, but still the majority of what you need. I don't know what this GPIO port would be used for, but if you wanted any further input outputs, you could probably use that. I'm just trying to take it in right now. There's a DSI input here. So maybe you can add another screen or something, some sort of output, full HDMI cables, USB ports. You got a coin cell battery that goes in this place, USB connection here. CAN, so if you wanted to run some CAN communication, you could do that. Yeah, pretty nice kit. That's the Pi 5. You have a Pad 7? I also have a Pad 7. I have a speeder pad as well, if you remember that thing from, what, 3-4 years ago. Yeah, so those are the goodies that I got this week. No plan for them, no solid plan for them, but definitely want to incorporate that soon on something. Just cleaning up a little bit here. All right, let's, what do you say we give away some filament? I think it's about time. Got about 40 minutes left in the stream, and I want to thank you guys for hanging out. So what do y'all say we give away some filament? If you have not clicked the link is in the chat, pin post. Go in there, sign up, drop your information. You have the amount of time it takes me to go from talking to you right now face to face over to the wheel. So if you're not in there, you're going to miss out. And then all of us will be sad. Okay. So I'm seeing how many people? I've got 40 responses and what, 49 watching. So pretty good response rate. Thanks everybody. If the other 9 of you are unable for whatever reason, then sorry, I'm working on it. Today your day is going to be broken. I mean, it depends. It depends on the people and what numbers they pick. So you guys need to start telling me what your numbers are while I take a few minutes here to get set up. Giveaway is now closed. So if you have not finished, sorry, we'll try again next week. And let me refresh the list. Looks like Matt Z was number 1 in and John Doe was last. So good stuff. Let me grab your names. I'm seeing your numbers come in. Thanks. Get all these names over. And then we'll move the window, show you over here. I forgot to show the wheel last week because I'm a pro streamer. So we're going to make sure. Let me turn off the chat box so we can actually see everything. All right. So I'm seeing your numbers. I'm seeing LTX says 27. Tintalon wants 8. Khalib wants 13. Okay. I'm seeing a couple of 13s. We got any more 13s in the chat? 42. Watching on 2 screens. Heck yeah. Get that engagement up. 5. We have a new printer build to start. Need some LDO filament. Just saying. 7. OG Maker. Couple of 13s. All right. I think today is lucky 13. Let's see how it goes. And spin it. We'll see if we can get Gergman some filament. GTR Dad. GTR. Dude, you could just stop by the house and pick it up. GTR Dad, are you here? You have 60 seconds to make yourself known or be quiet. GTR Dad. Not seeing you, buddy. You're down to 30 seconds. GTR Dad. We might have to spin it again. But I'm sure Gergman's okay with that. All right, 10 seconds. GTR Dad. Rut-row. That's right, Bill. He must be out doing GTR Dad things. Man, GTR Dad, you are expired. Sucks to suck, bro. All right. What number are we doing now? GTR Dad is out. Gergman gets another shot at his new build. He comes in like 10 seconds late. Comes in. What? I'll leave it up to chat. Should we give it to him? Should we give it to him or not? How ruthless do we want to be? You have 100 plus rolls in the inventory? Streamlabs getting after you, GTR Dad. Kevin Wickham's on your side. John Doe's on your side. Da Vinci's on your side. 3's enough for me. So GTR, you're going to take it. All right, there you go. There you go. It's milliseconds. Okay. Chat's cool with it. So GTR Dad, we're going to give it to you. What I need you to do is keep an eye on your email. I'm going to send your info over to Jason and the team at LDO. They're going to reach out to you, asking you what color you want and stuff like that. So make sure you get back to them in a timely manner. If you don't hear from them in the next couple of days, it could be because there's a holiday happening, but also it could be because I forgot to send the email. So if that happens, reach out to me. I'll fix myself and we'll get you taken care of, okay? Congrats to you. And you need to be added as a moderator. Okay, got it. You can do this by doing the name. Okay, Streamlabs is yelling at me now too. Great. Sure, give it to him. All right. You got it, man. Cool. Glad we could take care of you. So I think we're kind of as far as we could get. I feel like the last 2 streams, I haven't been able to do as much as I wanted to, simply because I just have not been able to prepare as much as I normally would. So I think it probably is a good idea to kind of go through some of this right now. Maybe you guys can keep me on track for for what we need to do. All right. I have a tool head to build right now. So I'm definitely going to do that before we close out stream. I've got about 30 minutes. But to make sure we're not missing anything else, I want to go through these instructions with everybody here so that we can know what to expect if you're going to do this yourself. Okay? So whatever tool head you choose, you're going to need a specific carriage. And so looking at the instructions, it walks you through a lot of this, but there's still some, I'll say, read between the lines kind of stuff that happens. I would not recommend you doing this as your first build on anything. So there's a Discord server channel that you can use to ask information and ask for help. Recommend you get into the Doom Cube Discord so you can do some of that stuff. But there's a basic layout of the parts that you will need. So you'll need a carriage, which is standard for this Mad Max build. And then whichever tool head you're going to use, you'll need a plate for. You'll need some clips and docks and some other things like that. You also need some tools, so make sure you're good to go. All of this is at my fingertips, so I'm not worried about that. I've already built my carriage, and my carriage looks like this one. And so just starting out, you'll need all these Delrin pins. You'll need some hardware, some wire, and stuff like that. You also need some of these M3 plate nuts that you would find on a V0 or something like that. They come from MakerBeam. You can find them under the name MakerBeam. So once you get everything prepped and assembled following the instructions here, you will end up with a carriage that looks something like this guy. So this is my carriage. I've got my end stop installed here. And I've got my pins installed. This camera's having a hard time. Hey, Precursor Creates. Kind of made it. No, you're doing just fine, man. Yeah, so you'll have a carriage that looks like this. This is the one we're going to use for our Mad Max build. So I've gone through all of what that looks like. We'll put that guy right there. And then coming back over, there's a lot of information in here about being careful and making sure that your magnets are correct and stuff like that. Highly recommend you follow those to a T and you do your best to get the correct parts that you need. All right. I've gone through all of this. My plate is done. This next part is kind of where I left off. I plan to use ant head because it's a little bit smaller. I'm starting to read more about Mad Max and starting to notice that people are choosing to go with stealth brick, which is a more square, solid tool head, hence the name stealth brick. I just don't like the way it looks. I feel like printers should look good and perform good, which is not good grammar, but totally makes sense in my brain. So I really want to use ant head. Plus it's more narrow, so you can regain a little bit of your space over something like a dragon brick or something like that. So I still need to do this plate. And there are instructions here with magnets and all that kind of stuff we got to follow. Essentially, the carriage and the plate that you're going to use for your tool head, once they attach to one another, they create an electrical connection that you can use for in-stop. And it uses sort of a tap system that allows one plate to slide against the other, breaking that electrical connection and therefore telling the printer that you've touched your Z in-stop. So we need to do that as well. Building clips needs to happen and then continuing on, all right? But once you do that, you just rinse and repeat all the way through your tool heads. So I am to this point where we're gonna do a plate, and so this is what I'm going to follow, all right? You lost your Discord. Your email for that account is no longer valid. Support will not go off phone number. Oh no. How did you do that? How did you lose your Discord? My Discord, I keep my Discord on my computer. Okay. So I goofed up again when I was printing parts, or maybe I just changed my mind while we were building. But I printed the Revo, I don't even know what you call this, ant head hot-in carriage part. which when assembled with the faceplate work fine. But then when you add on your fan ducts, let's grab a fan duct, it becomes, that's the wrong side. It becomes too short for what we want to do. And normally I like too short, but for this instance, I don't. So my fans are blowing like right at the heat block, not near the nozzle. But there's an easy fix for that. Hardcase thought about everything. And in the repo for the ant head are mounts called Revolcano, which is what I'm using. So it's a Revo with a Volcano style nozzle. So you get a little bit better flow. And these are running Triangle Lab TSC. I think this is a tungsten carbide insert into the bottom of a copper nozzle. So you get a little bit better flow. Plus there's some CHT geometry in there, that kind of thing. So I need to remove this, install the correct versions, and then maybe we can start doing a tool head. See if we can get one done here in like half an hour, because that's all I have left for today. I need a driver. You don't get much improvement with volcanoes unless it's CHT specific. Okay. I don't know that I've used a volcano in a couple years. I have exactly one printer with a volcano hot block on it, and it uses like an older legit E3D volcano, and so it's flowing what, like 20, 21 cubic, but it's on a little bit older printer. It's called the Second SK Cube. I built one of those as a beta unit a few years ago. I don't use it really much at all, but it still works. And that's the only volcano anything I have. Everything else is either like a Dragon with a CHT or a Rapido, something like that. And nowadays, if we could just get tube compacts, I'd probably just use those for most things. For the next build, I'm going to use, what is it? What's this thing? We're going to use, oh man, come out. We're going to use a Dragon Ace. Or maybe we'll use tricorn. I need to pick out my tool head. Not everything supports everything else. Old email to send sign on verification to is no longer. Oh no. So you have no way to get your login code? Sucks, dude. So how do you even fix something like that? Like, do you have to work with the Discord team to get them to hook you up? Like, how does that even function? All right, so really the difference between these two is on the Revo, it's a much more shallow pocket for your hot end to sit into. And then on your Volcano one, it's a little deeper. So it allows the hot end to go in, about 5 or 10 millimeters deeper, so that your ducts actually line up with what you're working on. You have like $1,000 in extra parts laying around? John, this is a judgment-free zone. I can't believe you would come in here and place judgment on makers. And I'll be the first to tell you, sir, that you are completely wrong. There's about $3,000 in extra parts laying around. I should do like a tour someday and show you these. So I have those big totes, you know, that people keep in the garage with all the stuff. I have one of those totes just full of like BTT stuff. So main boards and motors and whatever. Actually, out here, I'll show you one thing. I'll give you one peek behind the curtain, just because we're here on a Saturday and I'm feeling nice. Move the camera just for a second. I want to show you what I call my motor drawer. All right, so toolbox, right? This is where we're working bench top. Right down here. How many motors do we need? Right? Motors. I'm not hurting. I'll do okay. It's just a matter of what project needs what at what time. So really, I just need frames most of the time and linear rails to match most of the time. Build more printers? Yes. Yes, that's what we need. More printers. No, I'm good at watching the garage sale channels and all the resellers for deals and sales and stuff like that. And when those things happen, I pick up things here and there, buy, sell, trade, you know, a lot. And so you end up with a bunch of different things. So all right, that one is good to go. Love it. Revolcano. Now let's double check to make sure that we're going to work out. So that goes there. We looked at this a minute ago, wrong side. Now, get you guys to close up. Now we're doing much better at having that airflow go towards the nozzle versus into the heat block like it was before. Also need some heat inserts in some of these parts. So 2 here. I think there's another one there. Yeah. Into the bracket. And then one there. Hold everything together. Yeah. So a couple more heat inserts. Iron's still hot, so we'll do some of that. It's giving you flashbacks to your Volcamosk days. Dude, I got a Volcamosk. There's one right down here. I think this is it. Oh, no, that's something else. Don't worry about that. That's something else. It's over here somewhere. But I'm trying to get rid of that. Turns out nobody wants a Volcamosk these days. Spinal tap, your printer count goes to 11. Hey, Jeff Keys. Sports said make a new account. Their policy is strict. Must use emails attached to the account. That sucks. So are you going to have to make an entire like new handle and everything? That sucks, dude. I'm sorry. All right, so this one should go here. Like that. Probably should have did this before building all these things, but make do. It'll be fine. Give me flashbacks. Sorry, I read that one. Hey, Kitchell. No one makes hot ends that are slice compatible because feelings. Yeah. I remember when the Mosquito system first came out, it was pretty good. The whole rigid mount thing was just coming online, starting to be new. Like I think Dragon came out pretty shortly after that. And so we went from using like a groove mount to finally using a rigid mount system on most things. And I mean, nowadays, you can't find anything that's using a groove mount without going back to, you know, a V6 I mean, you can still find a V6, but I'm talking like new tech coming out that uses a groove mount. So that's good. I'm glad we moved forward. Aw, thanks for the gifted membership, Bearded Printer. Kittrell now gets to be a member. Awesome. New stream, who dis? Bearded Printer always coming through with the support. I appreciate you, buddy. All of those things help the builds continue. Speaking of builds, Precursor, if you're still here, should we talk about what we've been talking about and what the next build should be? So for those that don't know, Precursor is pretty popular on Instagram, from what I can tell, and does a lot of cool printing over there on his small fleet of machines. But he and I have been chatting quite a bit about things and stuff, and I think I'm on board. So should we talk about it? I think what helps me help everyone is this cheesy keyboard you have. Oh man. Still need to make maker coins. Kenny, you're not wrong. I still need to make maker coins. I need to design my maker coins. I don't even know what I would want to do for maker coins. But you're right, I definitely do. If I were going to Rocky Mountain, I probably would put more oomph to accomplishing that task. But I'm not, and so I haven't. I need some inspiration on what to do for a maker coin. That's normally how these things go. Printer ideas come from the ether, interesting things I've seen, comic book characters, superheroes, cartoons, just silly things like that. And so when I think about maker coins and that kind of thing, I would want it to be similar to my personality. Just a little bit silly. You're part of the cool kids club now. All of you are cool kids because you're here on a Saturday. If you want, you taking all the reins on this one, just there for moral support. No, you're doing a great job, man. So, all right, we'll talk about it a little bit. I don't have anything to show off yet. Like everything gets here tomorrow and throughout the week. So we'll see. I think those are in all the way. Coin in a coinception. I don't hate it. Is this another one of those 5-minute builds? No, this is like a 5-week build. I started this doing member streams and stuff like that, so I allowed the members to pick all the hardware and stuff. Just called an audible on the main board, but I don't know that members chose that. That's just kind of what came in the kit, and I chose to go with a smaller main board. But they chose extruders, hot ends, tool head, that kind of stuff. And theme, actually. They chose a theme as well. I think we're good on heat inserts now. I got everything. Sweet. But yeah, so back to what I was talking about with Precursor makes. So you rebuilt your V0 in a day? Yeah, well, you're not streaming at the same time. That's why. Streaming just doubles the amount of time it takes to do anything. Unless you're Steve. Steve does amazing job at working very fast. Colors Master Death Racer. Okay. Good stuff. So what Precursor and I are talking about is a Nebula build. And so I went down a rabbit hole on what is Nebula, what do I need. He and I went back and forth quite a bit, talking about capability and that kind of stuff. And so one of the next builds is Steve's a robot. One of the next builds is going to be a Nebula build. So on Tuesday, we should have a frame show up and a bunch of other things that I could get here in the States that I need for the build. A lot of stuff is sold out, so I still don't have a bed, and I don't have a magnet for that bed or a sheet for that bed. I have a heater. Fabrico had a heater, but just about everything else for a Nebula build is sold out. So I've got enough hardware and motors and that kind of thing, but I needed a frame. I needed a bed, and I needed some linear rails. Linear rails I had to get from China. So those are going to be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we can get to that, which means I'll be at my course and things will start to show up. Thanks for the membership, Steve. We were just talking about you. Hey, Boothie. Looks like Josh and James, LTX, Delvin, and Stephanie all became members thanks to Steve. Shout out to that guy. You could check Steve out probably tomorrow, unless you're still off, Steve. I don't remember. But Steve, you can find a bunch of Steve stuff right here on YouTube. A huge supporter of the channel. We need to do a build, some stuff.
Thanks for the sub.
You've been lurking for a while. I know. You always lurk. You're very good at hanging out and popping in and telling me when I'm wrong. All right, I want to look at the Anthead documentation so I know what hardware goes in what spot. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Thanks for the sub.
Okay, there's got to be a manual somewhere. Documentation and manual. Coming in clutch with the gifted subs. Yeah, Steve's a huge supporter. He's always giving stuff away. I need to go back and review his Mad Max build too. Once we get to the firmware side of things, how to set it up and all that stuff. I know that he chose quite a bit different hardware than I did. And also you were doing a little bit bigger of a build, but I think the concepts are similar. So I need to go back and cheat off your homework a little bit. Neat guy with a neat beard that always does those 5-minute builds. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't have the facial hair to support speed work. I get a lot done when I'm not streaming. I feel like a lot of times on stream, I don't get as far as I would want to. Try Anthead on your V0, but then couldn't use your lightweight gantry. Yeah. Anthead is front mount, so with V0 being top mounted rail, you'd have to modify something or convert to front mount, which I think does eliminate the lightweight gantry, depending on how you go for it. Now, let me bring this up here, and we'll do something like this. There we go. All right, here's our documentation for the Anthead. And I'm in it for, I'm not doing any of the the extruder stuff. We've already covered that. I just did the heat inserts here. There's a little tab I need to break off. Cool. I also had to remount the holes. I'm choosing to use the M2.5 screws so that we can go directly into plastic. I don't want to do more heat sets. It's just a preference. I'm not doing a cutter, so I'm not going to add in that heat insert in the top there. In fact, my cores or whatever they're called, don't even have a spot for that. It's just a filament. Streaming is babysitting chat. Yeah, and it's a lot of work. Like trying to babysit and multitask at the same time, it's not as easy as you would think. Cool. If you're installing the leaf cutter, flanged M2 that gets installed in the filament path. Not doing that. We did all the other heat sets though. Push the heat set from the bottom side. To do this, you'll have to have your heat set a bit of an angle. Yep, we did all that. Not using that carriage. Not using that carriage. Okay, here we are. So hot end wise, I chose the Revo Volcano, this guy right here. It has issues button heads. I use socket heads, didn't have an issue. They don't protrude out the top at all. And so the part actually fit together well. No issues with that one. What else do we have? Not doing any of that or that. We skip past all of this stuff. Yep. Okay, here we go. Main assembly. This is what we want. 2 options. You'll decide which will work best. Run the hot end wiring between the carriage and hot end mount. 2 channels in the rear. I think that's how I'm going to do it. That's how it lays out the cleanest right now. Using a plate heater. So using a plate heater like you would find on this Revo Volcano, you'll notice that it comes with rigid wiring right here. That rigid wiring, if you bend it too much, will become brittle and it may break on you. So I don't want to bend that wiring too much, and already it lays pretty flat in that channel we're describing. The thermistor will go on the opposite side there, so I think that's a pretty good spot for things and stuff. Hey Jeremy, thanks for dropping by. Jeremy said we gotta hit the like button, so we gotta hit the like button. It's kind of the rules. All right, cool. So next it has us doing a fan, and it's a, what kind of fan is it? A 25? Probably. Let's do some of that. Look at the handy dandy fan drawer down here and see what we have. There's a 25 fan. And this is a 5-volt fan. So I'm saying it out loud so that I don't forget and blow this dude up. I've done that before. I've also got a Honey Badger version. This one is a high static pressure fan. It is 12 volts. This one is, I can see that. This is a Delta fan, and it is definitely 5 volt. So when you're in this situation where you have 2 different fans to choose from, you want to double check your board. So we're using the Nighthawk, and you want to check what your board can provide. If your board can't provide 5 volts, then you probably want to choose a different fan. Hit the like button twice. $5 like fee. You like the HB1, it really pushes there, but yours is 24. Yeah, I thought I had 24 versions of these. This is a 12 volt fan. I've got more down here. I just need to double check. What I'm talking about is you want to double check your tool head board to make sure that it can support whatever you're going to run. If you don't have 5 volt ports, you're not going to be able to run this fan without, you know, a resistor in line there. And so looking at the Nighthawk, I can see here I've got selection for a 24 volt or a 5 volt. 12 volt is not supported. And so even though I would want to use this, I can't without doing some modifications that make things a little more junky. Yeah, for not for very long. You're going to run it for a half a second, and then you're going to clog your hot end and create all sorts of frustration because you didn't use the correct one. So we're going to have to use a 5 volt fan on this one, which works perfectly for this Delta. The kit did come with a set of fans. So let me grab those. They are both Delta fans. So here are our fan kit. Let's see, what do we have in here? So yeah, you've got the GDS Time fans. These are the 4010 axial fans. And then a couple of the 5 volt. This is actually, this one's 24. That's different. That's going to be confusing as all get out. A 24 volt fan, and this is a 5 volt for some reason. Why did that happen? I've got these other ones, these ones in here. I think these might be a little better. You got fans galore, not, yes, but are they fans of Delta? Yeah, so these GDS Times are 24 volt as well, and I've got 2 of these. So we can go with that. We'll put this 5 volt back. I think this probably came off a Stealth burner that I was using previously. That Stealth burner had a little bit of a cooling fan on the door. And I think that's probably where that came from, and I just mixed it up. So good to go now. And then this is a 4010 or something else. So we don't need any of those. What is this one? This is 24. We'll save that one for later, just in case we blow stuff up. So now we're good to go. There's some other stuff in here like in stops and whatever else. We'll keep that out because we might need that. just be sure to use two 12-volt fans wired in series. Yes, if you're going to do it, but we're talking two different hot ends. So I can't wire them in series, you know, on two different hot ends. That'd be a challenge. All right, so now that we're set, these are 24 volt. Now is a good time to check to make sure that your tool head board is also set to 24 volt, and mine is. So we'll be good there. Better for thinner heat breaks. Yeah. All right, there's that little bridge. It's gonna be a little hard to see, but there's a little bit of a bridge on the top of this part. I just printed these this morning because I had the wrong ones. Come on, camera. There we go. Right back there. We'll get some flush cutters out and trim that off. And that's going to be the channel that our hot end fan wires go through. Come out of there. All right, good to go. This goes there. I'm going to put the wire up to the top corner like that, and then we'll tuck that through once we get it installed. So 2.5 millimeter screws. If you don't have any, the best way that I found to get them is to just buy one of the little kits of screws off of Amazon or whatever you want to use that look like that. These are not button head though. These are socket head, and that may be an issue for us. So I need to find what I did with my button head versions and or hope that my, there we go. I was going to say and or hope that my socket head versions are going to work. But I've got this one as well. It's got some 2.5 millimeter screws in it, and these are button head. This is telling me to use 12s, and so those are 12s there. Let's get a couple of these out. Marie, you'll consider it. Get a couple of these out, and our very small driver here. So a 2 millimeter, actually 1.5. Geez, super tiny. That. Ooh, 12s are not deep enough for this fan. I think we're gonna have to go with 16s. They stick out just far enough through the housing of the fan that you'll get like 2 threads on, which is not enough to hold it into the plastic part. So I need to use something longer, and the longest one I have is the 16. Those seem to work. Always remember you are going into plastic with this one. So if you are heavy-handed, you might want to consider using the M3 version. But there's a note in the manual that says if you're going to use the M3 version, you have to drill out the access hole here to 3 millimeters for obvious reasons. Hardware won't fit. All right, so going till that's just snug on there and good to go. This should go together that way, and I want to make sure that we're good on the fan, so snake that into our channel using fingernail to push it down in there. Here we go. I think that's good. I did not prep any LEDs or anything like that, so we still need to figure that out as well. All right, so that's going to press in there nicely. I still need to add LEDs, but I have to solder those as well. Strip plastic is the best. That's right. Anybody got a good trick for fixing stripped out plastic? The only one I can think of is insert a strip of filament into the hole. Like, so that hole, just put some filament in there, glue it in, let it dry, and then come back with a drill bit to, like a hand drill, and drill yourself a new smaller hole. Or super glue the screw in. Yeah, that works well. It works once. I mean, in a pinch, I've definitely done that. So there's the hot end for the fan grill. Because we're going with the theme that we're going with here, SkeleFork. That's why you're seeing everything in yellow. this main portion is yellow like Skeletor's face. I could have done a color swap on this fan grill, but I really just wanted to stick with the theme to see how it looks. And it's a lot of yellow. This is uranium yellow from Fusion. So it's a UV colored, a UV reactive, excuse me, yellow. And it just kind of fits in there with friction. There we go. So this is like Skeletor's face. This darker purple color is kind of the hood that he would wear. And then when you add on the extruder, you see it kind of creates a surround of purple with more of a face here. So because I'm using SkeleFork, I need to do lenses still. So some PEDG lenses and create 2 harnesses for the LEDs. If you don't mind never being able to reverse the screw, yeah. Yeah, you could fill the hole and re-drill. That's another way to do it. Purple, dude, I have such a hard time getting away from purple. Like, if you look at the channel, you can see my channel colors are sort of that purple pink kind of thing. Funny enough, the I keep saying SkeleFork. The Legacy fork was starting off as purple, and I wanted to get different, so I kind of morphed it to a Taco Bell theme, and that's why you see the pink and the yellow. This one is more Skeletor, and so, again, another purple character, but we've got some blue in here, and we've got some yellow highlights for the face, so I really prefer a tri-colored printer. Other than that, I don't own anything else that is purple. I've really tried hard to stay away from it because you can get into the habit of building the same color over and over, and I've been cautious about it. Another heat insert here. Let me get my opposing fan duct. That one and that one. I found these fan ducts, so you need special fan ducts with mounting points here. I found these on the GitHub for the Mad Max. So you got to go to quite a few places to get all the parts you need. And we are over time. I'm already getting messages. We'll go ahead and do a couple more minutes as we start to wrap stream. Funny how that happens with colors. Yeah, purple's awesome. I agree, purple's awesome. But when you have, you're building the same color over and over and over, it can get kind of boring. I like building printers that look good. No one comes here to see them. It's not like I'm taking them to trade shows all the time or anything like that. I see them and that's enough. Cool. Make sure anything you do is a color you never used. Yeah, look at this. Bunches of colors and options to be able to choose what we want to do. I just need the right projects for those things. All right, so good on that. And then we install this onto the carriage, which I'm not going to do quite yet because we don't have carriage done. LEDs are next. I don't have that done. Fan grill's good to go. And then we install there. All right, so we could continue to put this together. But I'm gonna have to take it apart to do LEDs. But we can do this fan portion right here, I think. Yeah, so those are 6s, and then we delid the fan and use 6s in the back of the fan here. Cool. We'll do that and then we'll wrap it up. We'll get a good look at what this is supposed to be. All right, grab a couple fans. Your Frax arm is yellow. I don't have the space for a Frax arm. So this is a granite piece of countertop. Maybe, I don't know, looks like 2.5 feet wide, maybe 3 feet by 30 inches this way, front to back. And it fills up the majority of the top of the toolbox. And this is what I build on. So attaching a Frax to this is not going to be easy. And there's no like overhanging lip to be able to clamp it on either. But a Frax is kind of cool. I just don't have a need for it for me. Okay, so this goes in here. And we screw that with some buttons. I got some buttons here. Definitely need to clean up some stuff. That. Just there. Move all that. Clean enough. You can drill it in, yeah, just drill it into granite or quartz, whatever this is. I forget. We said 6s. Can never get these out with my hands. All right, 6s. The fan wire on the front is catching a little bit. I hope that's the correct way to route that. It's kind of getting mashed in there between the LED portion and the front face of this. So I'm gonna try to reroute that a touch. I suppose I could always route it out the bottom somehow, but I don't want it that close to the heater block. And I think it'll be fine there. You can drill it in. So we'll just get a couple threads on this one to get it set. Don't want to pinch any wires in here, and the thermistor wire is right behind that one. There we go. Feels pretty good. All right, good there. Next one, same thing. Couple turns backwards to get the threads engaged, and then we'll send her home. Like that. Great. Fan wire out the top with our thermistor and our heater like so. Death Racer tri-blade. Would hate to. Wow. Remote watching print. Jeez. What are you printing it from? 3D printed suction style base. That's a good idea. It's a really good idea. I could even suction to the top of my mini toolbox over here behind the chat window. All right, we will do this one first. Why not? I know that there are two different styles of fan. One is for Honey Badger, because the fans are slightly different, and then one for normal 4010 fans. For whatever reason, Honey Badger fans, like one of these in here somewhere possibly that I don't have nearby. I thought I had a Honey Badger fan down here. I was going to compare and contrast, but I guess I don't. Either way, Honey Badger fans are slightly different, where this axial fan portion is offset a little bit. And so there are different ducts. Looking at this straight away, I think I printed the incorrect one again. Because as I line this up and I slide this in here, it looks like it might line up, but I'm not 100% sure. So we have to take this fan lid off anyway. See if I can just pull that off of there, and just gentle pressure, kind of unclip that from the surround. And then once it helps if you got nails, but it just clips in there. It's not glued, at least not on these GDS times. So that's removed. We'll put the exit going down, obviously. And then this should kind of lay into, there's a lip here, so kind of lay into that and then clip into the top like so. We could slide it the rest of the way in like that. And yeah, so actually I did print the correct ones. Good to go. All right, that goes in there, and we're gonna add in some small hardware just to hold it in to make sure that it doesn't fall out, I guess. It shouldn't, but there's always a possibility. M2 this time, M2 by 6 socket heads. So I've got some of those here, and we'll get a couple of those out. You're in your shed, and and in your office. Gotcha. That's cool. Getting double watch time out of you. I've already gone ahead and glued the wire in here. Just a little bit of super glue and accelerator on the wire to prevent that from coming out of the little, I don't even know, barb, I guess. That keeps the wire neat and tidy there. Some fans come that way, some don't. And whatever the option is, should probably do that. I think I grabbed the right ones. Yeah, okay. Whew, scared myself. I thought I was gonna have 8s there. As this goes into plastic, again, just be careful, but also because the plastic is thin on the front, I'm watching the front of this to see if anything protrudes out the front. If I start to see a white mark appear on the outside, I know that I'm pushing through that front layer, and that may just not look good to me. So I'm bottomed out here, just a little bit of pressure, no white mark there, good to go. If you're using too long of a hardware or you tighten too much, you may get a bulge on the outside. Nothing a little heat can't take care of, but if you punch all the way through, you're gonna have a little hole there. It'll be a little bit harder to hide away. All right, 2 screws as requested. Let's just rinse and repeat from there. So gentle pressure on that. I guess you don't really have to be gentle. It's not like I'm going to reuse these covers for anything. So if you break it, who cares? All right. Got that guy off in here. On this side, the wire kind of needs to fold back on itself. And then you can slide her in from there. That's why it's important to have that little bit of glue there to hold the wire in place. It makes this point a little bit easier. That way you're not pulling back on the solder connection of the fan hub itself. So once you're good there, we'll add a couple more bits of M2s. And I think too, there are such things, I think I saw them at West 3D, where they have ant head kits, and it'll come with all this hardware to build one tool head. So if you want to go that route, it's less than 10 bucks to get all the hardware you need to build one if you get one of those kits. As long as they're in stock, right? And I think Fabrico might do it as well. I don't remember everybody that does it, but I know for sure West, they have ant head kits that you can use. All right, two fan ducts. Put this one over here, and they want us to use, just double checking over here. They want us to use, what is this? Sorry, let me resize the window a little bit. There we go, that's better. They want us to use M3 by 8 button heads. Can do. Of course, there are only 3 left in here, so really need that shipment to come in. All right, go through there. And I guess I'll be spending a portion of this evening making LED harnesses and redoing all of this again on the second tool head. All right, fans. I should have brought that back. I got distracted. Didn't pay attention to the wire. So just making some space, bend that back like we talked about. There's a gap between the yellow housing and the fan itself for that wire to fit in there. So just route it that way. And then actually the fan duct itself, I have to take this all the way off now, clips in. So that's the other thing I forgot. Clips into the yellow frame. And I'll show that to you here. So on this, pull that out. The same clip that clips the fan into the bottom clips into the yellow frame as well. So what I should have done is move this wire to the center, laid that in there at an angle like so, and then close it. That way there's a mechanical connection, but then also a hardware connection when we add this button head to the top. So I like things like that where parts are interfacing with one another to hold one another together. And then, you know, you can use very few bits of hardware in other places to make sure they don't come apart. So those little quality of life things that I really enjoy. Cool, we got that. And then we'll do one on this side. Wire should be good to go on this. It's already coming out the back side, so good to go. We just want to do the same thing we did before, so put them together as an angle, like that. And then close it up. And just double check, make sure we're good to go, and we are. Let's get our last M3x8 out of here, and this is a 6, and that's too short. So for now, I'm just going to put this on with one. When the rest of my hardware comes in, I'll have more. I think you could probably get away with using a socket head here if you wanted to. The pockets for those hardware mounting points look deep enough to accept a socket head, but you'll just have mismatched stuff. If you don't care about that, then don't worry about that. I'm just looking around in some of the other bins to make sure I don't have any button heads laying around that I'm not tracking, and it looks like I don't. So we'll keep it with one. Remind me to fix that later. Cool. That is that. Take our tool head. It goes on top like so. This is the correct mounting pattern. What is happening? There's a little bit of a nub on the front of this fan duct that is stopping this from lining up perfectly. Like I can force it to be there, but it's about a 0.5 millimeter off. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to trim that a little bit there. I'm not sure why that doesn't fit. It's probably because I didn't use the intended extruder. This is a G2 versus the one that is in the documentation there. So I need to modify the front here by just trimming off that little bit, and then I'll hit it with some heat. You'll never know it happened. It's a secret between us. So we'll do that one off camera as well, and we'll be good to go. So very nearly there. We've got sort of a tool head built. Still waiting on some parts to go. They got another 30 minutes or so. But we're gonna wrap stream there. That's about all the time that I have today, and we'll be back on Monday with a little bit more of this. I'll spend some time this afternoon making some harnesses and some LEDs. We'll have tool heads done, at least I hope, and we'll see if we can get a little further down the road. Still need to build interfaces for our carriage on Mad Max to be able to pick up our tools. So get to do that as well. Thanks everybody for hanging out, all 37 of you making it till the end of the stream. Steve, thank you so much for being here. Take care as well. We'll see you guys in a couple of days. Go enjoy your weekends. I'll be down in Orange County hanging out at the Japanese Festival. If you're in that area and want to come say hi, find me. Let me know. But either way, y'all have a good weekend. Go enjoy your families, and we'll see you in a couple days. Bye.